The ARPG originator is back with improved visuals, console availability, server issues, lag and bugs, but retaining that spatial feel it always had, and boy does it deliver on so many levels. I am Marcelian and this is GameBase, a place where we celebrate gaming of all kinds, and one of the biggest games to be celebrated today is Diablo 2. More specifically, Diablo 2 Resurrected. So sit back and enjoy the review. No surprise that the first thing that really kicks you is the detailed work that was put in remaking the old cinematics, because this is what will fill your monitor the first time you launch Diablo 2 Resurrected. The original sound is still there, albeit remastered, but boy does it look fantastic. After this, the in-game graphics are stunning in their own rights, because you'd think that a 4K upgrade with brand new graphics would have been tricky to not have everything glow and shine while saturating all the colors, but really the color scheme is still there. It's dark, it's gloomy, it's that Diablo atmosphere, which of course is complemented by the iconic guitar strums in the background. Beautiful. Zooming in, there is a lot of detail put into basically every little rock, and it becomes quite obvious that the art team really did a labor of love remaking this 21-year-old game. Detailed spell animations, light reflections, fine texturing, and gory scenes make the experience that much more complete, since back in the day, Diablo 2 didn't really have a huge leap from Diablo 1 in terms of graphics, and actually there were a lot of voices back then that actually criticized its dated visuals. But Diablo wasn't really about cutting-edge visuals. The big appeal of Diablo was always its replayability and that never-ending run for bigger and better items. You always want that sweet loot, man, not neglecting its story and how it's all structured into acts. And sure, by today's day and age, the story isn't super impressive. I mean, it's good, it gets the job done, but it gets you by the time you finish your first normal run, starting from Rogue Encampment all the way to killing Baal. You are already familiar with all the things you can cut and be more efficient once you start again on Nightmare. Same thing happens with Hell and so on. Having friends to play with really enhances the experience, and nothing compares to going on an adventure with your best buddies and embracing the chaos that comes with that. Yelling that they're blocking the entrance and you cannot hit shit. Running back to town to repair and forgetting to let your homies know about that and they die. Opening a portal for the one that's always dying. Stealing that rare rune that drops. Negotiating trades and then going back in to push the next boss and so on. All that goodness, man, it's still there. Because you want to log in and get to the next big baddie and the next big fat loot. The classes play more or less the same as they did 21 years ago. And yes, you can get punished if you go wild with the attributes and skill trees, especially in more difficult parts of the game. This is a blessing and a curse at the same time. On one hand, you are free to sandbox the shit out of your character and make the weirdest combinations of skills and gear. On the other hand, you can wake up facing Diablo and take in 2 hours to kill him, with your crazy build. We have a lot more online resources nowadays for builds, rune boards, and gear combinations that can really make your life easier if you really want to push the boundaries. Quality of life improvements, which originally were made by mods, made it into the resurrected version of D2, and it's all in good faith, I believe. Things like bigger stash, shared stashes, and automatic gold pickup are very welcomed and make for an even more enjoyable experience. But that wasn't always the case, especially at the launch. We cannot talk about Diablo 2 Resurrected and not mention all the issues it had. This is a very big and disappointing aspect that is actually more directed towards Blizzard than the actual game itself. Still, this company, after 20 plus years of experience with online games, multiple failed launches and a couple of successful ones, they still managed to fuck up a smooth launch for such an anticipated title. It's unreal, really. On 23rd of September, the doors of hell opened and naturally players from all over the world wanted to start their journeys. But what do you know? Servers crashing, characters being stuck, characters being deleted, uber lag in many parts of the game as you would hit a creature, you would see the animation, but the actual hit would take place 3-4 seconds later. It's funny because this is what we saw in the open beta and feedback that. So imagine how much less folks were in there and we still had the same exact issues, and with the actual official release having extremely more players in it, you'd think they would take that feedback to heart. Some of the original Diablo 2 bugs are still in there, but you'd make sense that most of these are for flavor, with the sole purpose of retaining as much as possible of the original game. I think all of us who played the game on launch remembered that the amount of issues actually prompted Blizz to do an emergency maintenance close down that took, I think, roughly 30 to 40 minutes. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. Later during that week, we got a small patch correcting some of the issues, but hey, all this madness didn't really stop what eventually concluded with Diablo 2 Resurrected. An amazing ARPG that takes you back to a more rugged time. A game that enjoys itself, not holding you by the hand on every corner. We love it for it. A gorgeous remake to have you sucked in its dark gothic atmosphere at first, only to have you wanting more after you finish the campaign. Any respectable RPG fan should give Diablo 2 Resurrected a spin, if not for nostalgia's sake, at least for its massive influence on future other games to come. You know, things like talent trees, ability altering gems, gear synergies, their genesis reside with Diablo 2. For all it's good and it's bad, Diablo 2 gets a fat juicy 9 out of 10 from us, and it would have been a 10 out of 10 if it wouldn't be for the plethora of issues it came with, but we will admit that this game was a big part of our childhood and we cannot not be biased. Hope you enjoyed, and if you did, drop a like and even subscribe, why don't you? Let me know in the comments how you feel about the game, and stick to GameBase for more Diablo content to come. Bye bye!